And also at the state's capital, Louisiana lawmakers are one step closer to making parents pay when their kids call in school threats. Now, House Bill 137, also by Representative Mike Johnson, would let courts fine parents up to $5,000 if their child makes a threat against a school. Kids under 14 could also face up to a year of probation or 6 months in juvenile detention, a mental health exam, and mandatory counseling. Similar legislation was debated on Capitol Hill earlier this year. U.S. Congressman Troy Carter of New Orleans says it's a dangerous precedent to hold parents liable when they didn't encourage the threat. The bill now heads to the state Senate.